We are live. What's going on, everyone? This is Brandon with BiggerPockets.com. Beardy Brandon here on Instagram. And today I want to talk to you guys about mindset, but specifically mindset about hiring people, about building your team. Because if there's one thing I've learned over the past few years is that like the difference between like not growing and growing comes down more to your team than almost anything else. And so that's why today I'm going to be doing that. I'm actually going to be joined today by Jason Jries, who is, many of you guys know it, he's my performance coach. And I'm going to see if I can add him in here. And he's a wealth of information when it comes to mindset and the way we think and the way we take action or don't take action. So that's why Jason is going to be joining me today. What's up, Jason?
Hey, man. And what was that quote you had about wealthy people and hiring?
I'm not, what is it? I don't hire people because I'm wealthy. I'm wealthy because I hire people.
Yes, right? That one. Yeah. That one. Yeah.
Yeah, because the backstory of that was my parents are visiting right now. My dad made some funny comments about, you have house cleaners? Or no, it's pool cleaner. You have a pool guy? Like, why do you need that? And I wanted to be like, Dad, I don't hire them because I'm like successful and rich. I'm, successful because I hire people to do those things that way I can spend time doing more like dollar per hour, higher dollar per hour stuff. So that's where that came from.
I like that. That's a great quote. Yeah. Absolutely. Yeah. This is a great topic for today too.
Yeah, and I know you ran or you have an outsourcing company, right? You were at least associated with one, right?
Yeah.
You understand that power too.
Absolutely. Right. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. I founded an outsourcing company in the Philippines. We shut down last month. Yeah. 2 years. I've started about 6 different companies, right? But you keep going, right? Try this, try this, right? But topic, I get this question a lot, right? I get it a lot. Like, how do I build my team? And working with you over the past couple of years, I think the thing that I've seen the most from a coaching perspective is your willingness to work with the team and let go, right? Because that's because that's one of the biggest challenges. We start working, we get our baby, and like nobody could do it as good as me, right? But then you become the bottleneck and stuff starts to stop, right? But it's cool to see your team grow.
For years, I mean, I didn't hire anybody for the first like 5 years of being a real estate investor. Like nobody, I didn't hire anybody. And then slowly I started adding people in. I made so many mistakes in that time about hiring people because I used to hire people based on like they have a heartbeat, or they're around, or they're a Facebook friend of mine. So like that's why I would naturally hire people, which is a terrible idea. But anyway, I've learned a thing or two about hiring in the last year. So I thought we'd maybe just talk about that today a little bit.
I think that's a good idea.
I don't know, where do you want to start with that?
Well, I think...
Where do you want to go?
I'm taking a note here. I just had an idea. Okay, so the thing is, I've talked to a lot of your fans with free sessions and things like that over the past couple months, and I'm new to real estate investing, and what I've been hearing is like a lot of people are always looking for strategies to get started in the real estate business, or buy their first property, or add their team, or get to the next level, and BiggerPockets and yourself does an amazing job of sharing mindset strategies as best you can, right? So you get a lot of people modeling or attempting to model you, right? And it's very easy to model strategies, right? What'd you do to get your first property? Well, I did this. I ran a calculator. I did this. I made an X number of offers, and here's my calculator, and here's my formula. But even though you give all of that to someone else, they may not be able to execute because there may be a mindset perspective, right? So if you want to model somebody, in addition to the strategies, you should try to model the mindset. Model the mindset. So today, what I think we should do today is I think we should pick apart Brandon's brain to see what's in there so that those listening can start to see how Brandon views things differently. Because think about it this way, right? So to get a result, you need to execute an action, right? You need to execute some action. The action you execute is based on who you are. Right? Like if I tried to get a real estate business, I've never done a real estate deal or barely read any investing. I know the basics. If I tried to do real estate investment, it would take me this. If we had a machine that put Brandon's brain in Jason's body, even with Jason's resources, Brandon would get a property much faster than Jason would, right? Because it's a different level of thinking, and it's based on what you believe, what you think, what you perceive. So let's go through kind of your journey of your team expanding and really what you believed and what you learned and what you shared, because that's where I think people listening will start to get the greatest passive mindset shift.
Sure. Yeah, that's great. All right, let's start here. We'll start at the very beginning. So when I first got into real estate, I did everything myself, meaning I did the work myself. I did the construction. I flipped houses. I was there every day for the first few years. Because, and it's funny, I was actually talking with a couple of guys yesterday, and they said the same thing to me. They said, well, yeah, right now I do all my own work because it's cheaper that way and I save a lot of money, but I don't always want to be doing that. And I said, hold on. I said, let's go back and look at the language. Like you just said, so like his belief, and it's not wrong, because I mean, it's not necessarily wrong from a surface level that it's cheaper to do my own work. Yes, you could pay $50 an hour for a plumber to do the work, or you could do it yourself for free. Therefore, it is technically at the moment cheaper. But then like later on in the conversation, and we talked about that for a while, later on, he mentioned some idea for like lead acquisition, like for getting deals sent to him that would require like text messaging or something. It was like a cool, complex strategy. And I was like, that is awesome. That if you just fully implemented that, that is a whole lot more valuable than plumbing. And I said, the problem is you don't have time to implement a text message lead system because you're busy fixing a pipe. And he laughed, and he's like, he got it right then, and he got it. And that's where I was when I started, is I was doing everything myself because it was cheaper.
It was cheaper.
And that was mindset 1.0, we'll call it.
So, and what do you believe, like, now about doing your work yourself versus someone else?
Like, I put everything at kind of $1 per hour. And what I mean by that is like, and I really learned this heavily from that book, 80-20 Sales and Marketing by Perry Marshall. It was a huge influence on me. I read it like 4 years ago. And he made a comment that everything we do in life has $1 per hour attached to it. So by you doing that, then that is $1 per hour. So by me mowing the lawn, that is a $20 an hour task, because I could pay somebody $20 an hour to mow my lawn. But by creating a text message lead system that automatically pipes in deals, that's like a $10,000 an hour job. Like if you think about how much money profit you would make over the life of your investments, if you had that system running, it took you 10 hours to do it, and you ended up making $100,000 over the life of your investments, like that's $10,000 an hour. So everything attaches to that. So today I look at that and I say, everything I do, is this the highest and best use of my time? And it's not always about dollar either. I mean, my time with Wilder, my little boy, or with Rosie, or with my wife, what dollar per hour is that? There is none. But I can guarantee you it's more than $20 an hour. So I would rather hang out with them than mow my lawn.
Per hour there. And okay, I knew it was $1 per hour.
My phone beeped at me.
No problem. So thanks. I was expecting the $1 per hour one, and absolutely right. So figure out, for those listening, what your $1 per hour rate is making money, even if you have a job, right? Anything less, don't do. But here's my other question. When you started to allow other resources in, what other belief or perspective shifted besides the $1 per hour? Like, was there willingness to accept help, or thinking you were okay, or you deserved it, or you were big enough to have help, or anything like what else shifted as you started to move into leverage?
I mean, so this is something I continually struggle with even today, but I'm way better at it, is that, like, are you too good to do your own work? Like there's a mindset blocking there. I mean, I had a friend in high school I used to laugh at, like, internally, because his parents hired house cleaners, and I thought they were too good to do their own cleaning. And today, I have people who clean my house every other week, and I have landscapers and pool guy, and so I don't really feel that way, but sometimes I still do a little bit. Like, am I too good? Am I too like prissy or too whatever? Like my nails are too nice to be able to go get my hands dirty. So there was overcoming that, and like the comments from the parents and others that are like, I just love a pool guy. So I mean, that was a big one, is overcoming just like, is it okay for me not to do my own work? Is it okay for me to be in charge and to be the manager, to be the leader? So that was I guess tough. It still is tough to get over sometimes. And what do you believe about people working for you now? Like, what's the conscious focus? Today, here's what I tell myself. Yeah, and this is what I focus on, is that when I hire other people, one, I'm providing a living for them. So like, this is actually a really like a good, like, every time I hire somebody, not only am I not doing the thing, but I'm improving the economy in both the world and their own personal life. So now they can put food on the table for their family. and provide for more. So if we all just said we're not going to hire people, like we'd all just be broke, and everyone would be broke because everyone like we depend on other people. So I would rather be a leader who hires other people and helps them personally grow, whether it's financially or in other ways, than hoarding it all myself. So it's not just a selfish thing. In fact, it's actually more selfish to want to do everything yourself rather than getting that next level to be able to hire other people.
Good point, right? Because you're creating jobs, right?
Yeah. Yeah. So that's that was big. The other mindset was I just can't afford it. I had that early on too. Like I can't afford to hire people. And that what's funny is I say, and some people are laughing, they say that's not a mindset thing, that's a bank account issue. But it's not, right? It's like, it's a yes, I'm not saying every person here needs to go out and hire somebody right now full time. That would be probably maybe they could. But it takes a little time to get to that level, maybe. But I like the way I started, I think is a pretty good way to do it. I hired my mother-in-law for 5 hours a week to answer phone calls. It was one task that I deemed as a thing I hate doing. I had no energy doing it. It drained me. And therefore, I just didn't get it done very well. I wouldn't call tenants back very well. I would fill units a lot slower. So I hired her to answer phone calls. And it was a few $100 a month. And that little shift like got me to see, oh wow, I started making a lot more money. I started enjoying what I'm doing more, and I had energy to devote towards the things that make me more, like finding deals, because I was no longer showing tenants, rental properties, and like shifting just little tiny bits to people around you, or to like virtual assistants, or to whatever, definitely frees up more time for things that matter. So that was another one.
Cool. So first there was like, I'm gonna hire a resource, right? That was step one, right? I'm gonna hire a resource, right?
Yeah.
Then the second part was, okay, I'm gonna find one, right? And then you started to like, who was the first person you actually, now you got mom, but like, where were you at? Like, what was the shift that happened for you to bring the first full resource onto your team? Like, who was that? Was that an assistant?
Was actually, it was an assistant, and I don't want to say it was a mistake, but it was definitely the wrong hire. Like she was awesome. I thought she was an awesome person. But she was not fitted for the role that I hired her for. She had a pulse and she applied, and I knew her and I liked her, and I was like, oh, I'll hire her because that'd be fun to work with her. She was a woman like who was at my church, and I thought she'd be great. And then I found out like right away that she just wasn't right for the role. Yeah. That said, it still helped me. I mean, she would watch Rosie when she was first born. She would do our dishes sometimes. We found a spot for her. It was still helpful. But yeah, that was the first hire. And then I learned, I guess what I've learned about hiring is like all my successful hires now, all of my really successful hires have actually been people that I've like brought up from within after seeing how they work. Because you never really know how somebody's going to be until you work with them. Yeah. And so like guys like working with Ryan Murdoch or Mike Williams now, or Walker, or all these guys that are on my team now, it came from like seeing how they work. Cole, he actually got like, check us out. I mean, so this is Cole. What's up? So Cole is actually my video guy now. So nice. Hit Cole to cover once a week and work video stuff with me, because he can run that camera right there and the video we just recorded for the fund that we're launching today. And so he can do all that. So again, I don't have to struggle through all that. So but I work little bit.
So that was in your immediate circle, right? In your community. It was already in there, right? It wasn't something you had to go find. You actually just had to look, and you found something right there to help you, right? Yeah. Awesome.
I think some people naturally want to like go put on a job application and like get a bunch of like the old fashioned way. But for me, it's worked out better. Like just being involved in the big real estate space and being involved in BiggerPockets and talking to people constantly. We even kind of started like a lead. I mean, let's say about Mike real quick. So Mike is my head of investor relations. So he runs all investor relations with Open Door Capital Fund. Mike came because we opened up a I don't know how an internship, because it wasn't an internship. It was just like a team of people to help me find deals and analyze deals. We built a team of people that could just help. And Mike ended up just being like a leader of that team. Like he was the one coordinating calls and getting people together. And he proved himself as a leader that was super capable. And so then we brought him on full time, and now he's full time running like huge chunks of the business. So that's huge.
So being a leader, even if someone isn't at your level, if they're still acting like a leader, they're going to attract people, and there's going to be people in their community. Yeah. Right? I have a question here.
Yeah, because then he attracts people around him constantly.
Exactly, right? Yeah, so I have a question here about like that first assistant that you hired that didn't work out. Did you have any doubt that you could find one that worked?
I had a ton of doubt. Like, I mean, like, I should say, like, I have this big fear that was going to hire the wrong person, which I probably did.
Mm-hmm.
I had a fear that I was going to hire, that I couldn't afford it, that I wouldn't have enough work for them to do.
Yeah.
It wouldn't work out, and I'm letting them down. They left their last job to come work for me. In fact, not like 30 minutes ago, actually, I didn't tell you this yet. Remember we talked about hiring Micah? So we went back and forth the weekend. 30 minutes ago, we accepted, and now I have a new person on my team. So there's always that fear. Like, I guess, like, is it the wrong person? So anyway, but now we're up to 7 people now, I think, as of 30 minutes ago. So.
Well, there's the fear, right? Because you're a risk-averse person, right? But refer back to disc profile, right? But underneath that, there's another belief there. Like, there's a belief that, it may work, but there's a decision, but there's also a belief that's driving it forward. What's that belief?
A good or bad way? I mean, you think
positive, right? Like as if it was too strong in a negative way, you wouldn't have taken the action. You took because there was a decision that says, I'm going to add resources, and you're going to try this one.
Yeah.
But there had to be some belief there, like, well, eventually I'll figure it out, or I know I'll find it. I know there's a way if I'm committed, or something like that. That's what I'm looking for, something like that.
Yeah.
Is there anything like there?
Yeah, I guess the way I guess if I kind of look deep, like, I have the belief that, like, the right person will generate significantly more than they cost. So, and there are opportunities everywhere. Like, I'm an abundance mentality kind of guy. So I just know that there's just an abundance of resources. So if I have a person on my team, they will generate way more than it would ever cost me to have them or anything like that. So I guess that's where I would go with that, is like the belief that it's going to work out, and I'm going to be way more successful because of this than I would without it. And even if I hire the wrong person, it's reversible. Everything's reversible. I don't think I'm going to fire someone necessarily, but either we shift roles or we find them a better spot on the bus or whatever. But there are ways. It's all reversible. It's all fixable, and nothing's like going. Nothing's going to bankrupt me.
Yes. Yeah, that's right there, right? So there's, but one other I want to ask, and then I want to summarize this real quick for everybody. So you said, like, what's the belief? And you said the right person will generate significantly more than they cost. So there is a known fact that you're operating from, that if you find the right person, it's going to bring value to your business. There's not a question there. It's a certainty. And what do you believe about finding the right person?
What do I believe about finding the right person? Good question. It's a deep question. I guess I believe, and I don't know if you're looking for something specific here, but I believe that the right person exists currently, but more so, I as a leader can develop almost anybody to be the right person. And maybe that's just my optimism of saying, like, I can take anybody, but I actually believe, like, that if somebody is not good at their job, it's because I haven't trained them good enough or expressed it good enough. Like, that if somebody's working for me, I try to take extreme ownership of that. And so, like, I guess it's on me is where I go with that, is like if they're not perfect, I can make them more perfect. Does that make sense?
Yeah, no, this is gold right here. This is like, if we start to understand why Brandon Turner is successful at building a team, these are the clues right here. Because the model of the world, the filter that you're going into the process is, the right person is there, which basically means I need to create them or find them, if we dug deeper there. If anything happens, everything is reversible. And the right person will generate more than they cost, right? Yeah. If you're watching this and you don't believe those things, now you're starting, like, you should write those down, right? And start to think that way, because that's the model of the world that Brandon developed, not because he was in coaching for 15 years, but from working his butt off for 6 to 8 years behind the scene that got this point here, really, right?
Well, let me add one more piece to that. You can go finish your thought, and then I'll add one more mindset thought, but go ahead.
But no, I lost it. Go ahead. Go.
All right,
the rest of that, it'll come back. It'll come back.
Sorry. There's also this idea that, I don't know. Okay, so BiggerPockets has private equity firm that owns a good chunk of BiggerPockets. Happened a couple years ago. A year and a half ago, 2 years ago, Josh sold off part of BiggerPockets and brought in these partners. They're awesome. And what they brought to the table was a different way of thinking about business. This is why it's so valuable to like attach yourself with mentors and people who have been there before, because they have a different way of thinking. So the very first meeting we ever had with this company, they sat down and they said, okay, well, what's your guys' plan? And we said, okay, we've got this many developers, we've got this many people, we've got this marketing guy. We think we can build this, and we're going to do that this year. And they said, stop. And they said, don't tell us what you have and what you can do with what you have. Tell us what's possible and what you need to make that come true. And so that was like the final mindset shift that I went through about a year ago, maybe 6 months ago, where I said, like, that blew my mind, because I thought, okay, if what's possible is for me to own 1,000 rental units in the next 3 years, that was a vision I casted. I said, I want 1,000 rental units in 3 years. What's it going to take to get there? Not what do I have today? What are my current resources in my life? But what would it take? Man, I would need a full-time asset manager, a full-time property manager. I would need the investor relations person. I would need an assistant. I would need this and this. And I like defined that. Yeah. And of course, I don't have the money necessarily to pay for that. But guess what? When you buy big real estate deals, you get acquisition fees and you get other like sources of income along the way, and they produce income that properties do. And so then I could work backwards and say, okay, well, in order to afford that team, I would need to buy $25 to $30 million of real estate every year. But if I had that team, buying $25 to $30 million of real estate every year would be simple, like, because I'd have a rock star team that could do it. And therefore, I'm not paying for all those salaries. The properties are. And so it's just a different way of looking at it, saying, like, again, it's not coming out of my pocket. Like, how am I going to be able to buy 1,000 units? It was if I had the right team, they would pay for themselves by doing that. And so that's what I did. We've hired 7 people, 7 people now in the past 6 months.
Yeah. So when you're looking at that additional expense, you're not looking at your bank account asking yourself, how do I pay for it? Right? Correct. You're looking at that expense and the growth and saying, how can I pay for it? Which is very different than the way that most people think, right? That's a Robert Kiyosaki question, right? How can I pay for it, right?
Yeah, poor people. Yeah, the poor say I can't afford it. The rich ask, how do I afford it?
Yeah, exactly that. Like somebody would come to me and they say, I want to sign up for coaching. I'm like, here's the price. Like, they don't have that. Like, well, you may not now, but do you want it? Go get it, right? And that's part of the thing that a lot of people do behind the scenes is like this lonely internal battle struggle for greatness where you're all alone working by yourself over your fears and growing and expanding, right? Because I'm sure there were fears when you had your first property, and I'm sure there were fears when you took your first dive and you're hit and you lost a bunch of money, what has been like, what kind of writes you back forward when you get hit? Like, what do you go back to when something to talk to? Okay, when you take a hit,
I got this timer on my phone. Every 15 minutes, it pauses me. It's like, you've been on Instagram for too long. Ask that question again. What do I do?
So when you get a hit, and it's about and when you're pushing the edge, when you're growth, when you're in your passion, you're going to that next level, and you take a hit, and the people around you can't really talk to about it, right? Yeah. What is your foundation that gets you grounded to move forward there?
Good question. A couple of things that I do. One, obviously talking with you helps an awful lot. Like having a performance coach helps. Yeah, that's been actually like super helpful. But also talking with I like to also talk with like super experienced real estate investors. Okay. Like for example, there's a buddy of mine named Brian Burke, who is a real estate investor. He's been on our podcast a number of times. He's here in Maui right now, and like I'm getting together with him. Like he doesn't know that yet, but I'm getting together with him the next few days because I need to just sit down and be like, here's what's going on, here's where we're at, what can I do better? Like here's what's been awesome, and here's what we've been struggling with. And so anyway, those two things have been super, super helpful. Going back to the basics of like the lead measures, like what can I control, what can I control? Like, I got the journal, we talk about this a lot. Yep. I ground myself every morning by like doing my morning like intention journal stuff where I'm like, this is what my goals are. Here's my lead measures. If I stick with this belief, I know that the outcome is going to come even with the ups and downs. So that's kind of how I look at that.
Okay. Well, what about in the earlier days when you didn't have all those accesses, when you didn't have access to the high level real estate mentors that you could bounce off of, or you couldn't access a performance coach? Like, what did you come back to keep moving forward when you took a hit, or maybe when you took your first loss, or something like that? What was the thought or belief there that kept you going?
I mean, I have always firmly believed that like real estate works. Like I just know it does. There's too many examples of it working. Millions and millions of people who have become very, very wealthy off real estate. I just know in my heart and in my soul that it works, and it will work even when an individual deal doesn't work. So I always know that. I read a lot, and I've always fallen back on books whenever I feel like when the things don't go right. I'll go read a really good, like I'll reread Rich Dad Poor Dad, or I'll read 4 Hour Work Week, or I'll read one of those books, and I'm just like, it fires me up again. I'm like, oh yeah, this does work. This is how it goes. And anyway, that's always been huge for me is when things are hard, is to go back to that. Now, I didn't listen to a lot of podcasts starting out, but I think today, if I was if I was a newbie today, I would go back and listen to some of my favorite like podcast episodes. Because I'd be like, oh yeah, that guy's story where she was a single mom living in Detroit and she bought 12 properties cash her first 4 years while working a full-time job. Like, like if she can do that, I can do that. Like I go back and listen to those. Yeah,
that's awesome. That's awesome. Cool. Awesome. Thanks for sharing that. That's gold there. So So let's go back to team for a second, because I'm a low S, and that's why we're bouncing all over. So, so we go, I'm going to hire a team, right? Team didn't work out. What about when team is getting bigger than I imagined really quick? How do you continually stay in growth mode as you get pushed to where you're uncomfortable?
Yeah. How do you continually stay in growth mode?
Because let me jump in, because I'll say, from knowing you from a coaching perspective, you are always in growth mode, and your discomfort doesn't stop you, is based on what I've seen. Why does discomfort not stop you?
There's a quote I tell myself all the time. I don't know where I first heard it. It's a popular phrase: feel the fear and do it anyway. I'm such a big believer in that concept of like, this freaks me out, I guess I'm doing it anyway. Like I went to Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, for like the first time I watched, it was terrifying. Second time I went there to participate, and I drove by, and then I drove by again, and I drove by again. I didn't want to get out of the car. But I still did it. Like I was terrified, and I didn't know anybody there. It was incredibly awkward, but I still did it because like, I don't know. I don't know where that comes from, but like I just feel the fear, and I'm like, I'm scared, but I'm gonna do it anyway. I don't know. I never really thought about that, but like, why would I do it anyway? I know that like success comes from those things, and I just, again, kind of like how I know real estate works. I know that like every great thing is on the other side of fear, and so I just internally believe that like it's not just a phrase on my wall or on a picture at the motivational quote. It's like I really believe that like every single thing in life that I've ever got that's been good was a result of being terrified first. Like asking out my wife 4 times, and it took 4 times before she finally agreed to date me. And like, had I given up, I wouldn't be here today. When we tried to have Rosie, like it took us 10 years to get pregnant. Like, those things take work and effort, and trying to figure this stuff out. It's all good things are on the other side of that fear. So that's
awesome. That's awesome. So let me recap, right? So building, expanding the team. Number 1, I'm going to do it. Number 2, if it doesn't work, the right person is out there. And if I haven't found the right person, I haven't found them or developed them. And if it doesn't work out, everything's reversible. And if the right person is there, they're going to generate significantly more than they cost. And when you look for on how to pay for additional resources, you don't look at the money you have. You look at what that opportunity is going to create to pay for it. And at the end of the day, success comes from moving forward when it's scary, even when your knees are shaking, because that's where growth is. And now, how often do you feel scared in business anymore? When was the last time you felt scared in business?
Every day. No, not like scared. I mean, when I like, you were along for this the last 6 months. Like the first offer we made, we bought a real estate deal, a mobile home park. My first one was $1 million. That was a big deal. And then we put an offer for a $2.7 million one and got it accepted. And then like we put an offer, another one, it was like 4 million, and then it was like 7 million, and then it was 20 million, and it was like, whoa, like that, like when I'm signing papers that it's like we'll pay $20 million for this portfolio. Like that's a little like I don't even know how to call it. It's scary. Like I'm not like shaking, but like, whoa, this is real now. Like this is like I got my big boy pants on now, and that was that would always scare me a little bit in business. I suppose that was the last time I was like really like oh my gosh, like this is $20 million. And
and at the core of that, you believe and know that real estate works, right?
Yeah,
real estate works.
You stick to that. Yeah, my cousin Mike. What's that, Mike Borley? He said Brandon's fearless. No, like that's the funny. Like I'm so afraid of that stuff a lot. But I think fear is kind of like difficulty. I always say that nothing's difficult. It's just steps that you haven't defined or practiced enough. And so fear is kind of the same way. Like nothing's scary. It just means you don't know what it is or you haven't practiced it enough. Like I'm not scared to drive a car anymore because I know how to do it and I've driven enough. The first time you drive, you're scared though because you haven't done it and you don't know the steps. So I guess like anytime I'm afraid, which is usually when it's something I haven't done or haven't done enough, it's one of the two. Like going to Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu or buying a mobile home park for $20 million or hiring a new employee. Like I mentioned earlier, like it might sound like I've got a lot of this stuff figured out and together, but like you and I have been talking about Micah, like this guy that I just offered on today and he just accepted. How long have we been talking about Micah? Like 3 months now?
A
while. It took months for me to get to the point where I felt like, okay, I let's put the offer out there and then like let's make this happen. Like it took a long time and I think a lot of that is probably still fear. As much as I want to sound like I'm over that and like I'm feeling the fear and doing it anyway, it wasn't an overnight thing. It was like, do I have the money to pay another person? Because it's not a sales role. It's not a job that's necessarily going to pay for itself. But this goes back to one more point, is that not necessarily that an employee is going to pay for themselves, because like there's a good chance that Micah will not pay for himself. I'm hiring him to be an assistant and bookkeeper, but he will allow me to pay for himself and 10 times over. Right. So if I'm not doing the books anymore of Open Door Capital, or if I'm not doing Driving for Dollars, because he is, that allows me to do things that will actually let me earn more money than what it costs him. And at the same time, let me focus on the things I like doing versus the things that I have to do. So that's just one more piece there is knowing that like every person I hire, as long as they're,
Although you would have preferred to talk about Micah for another 3 months.
Yeah, probably.
Maybe. And that's actually disc profile right there. That's a high S disc profile. Yeah. So for those of you,
go ahead.
High S. So if you want to know high S disc profile, we did one of these like a month ago. So look on my wall, you can see it. Brandon's a high S disc profile. High S's don't like risk and they move slow. They do. So he actually moves fast for a high S.
But this is how I've overcome that, though. And there's a great analogy this guy uses. His name was Bryce Stewart on the BiggerPockets podcast. We interviewed him like a couple years ago. And he gave this great story. I still remember today. He said, you know what? I had to sell my truck. I had no idea how to sell my truck. I just don't know how to do it. Like, there's a lot of steps. He's like, but you know what I know how to do? I know how to vacuum my truck. And I know that in order to sell a truck, it has to be vacuumed. So I went out there and I vacuumed my truck. And he's like, then once the truck was vacuumed, I didn't know how to sell my truck, but I knew how to take a picture of my truck. So I pulled my cell phone out and I took a picture of it. And I might not know how to do this, but I know how to post a picture on Craigslist. So like, he's like, and his point was like, anytime you feel stuck, go vacuum your truck. And in like the intention journal, and this is meant to be a plug for it, but like I always talk about your MINS, your most important next step. You don't know a mile down the road when you're driving on a foggy road. You can't see a mile down the road, but you do know 10 feet in front of your car. You can see that far. So vacuum your truck, drive that 10 feet, like take that little step. So that's why, that's how I overcome, even though I'm a high S and I don't like risk and I don't like making decisions. I just, every single day, I try to drive it forward 10 more feet through the fog, because the only thing that's going to stop me is if I pull over to the side of the road or if I refuse to vacuum the truck. So anyway, that's how I overcome the tendency to let fear want to slow me down, is by constantly saying, well, what little thing can I do next? That's what I want to do. And that's what I do.
So start by taking step one, right? Start by taking step one.
Exactly.
Step one.
You summarize that much more succinctly. Yeah, step one.
So that's the formula. So I hope those of you listening, see this model here on how to think and operate like Brandon would. and with somebody to avoid risk, be as successful as you can and keep moving forward. This is awesome. This is golden.
Okay.
So we'll take some questions, see if anybody wants to ask you questions or anything. Or
Yeah, let's do some question and answer. I just got a text from a buddy who said he's bringing tacos over in a few minutes, so I'm going to leave for tacos
Oh, wow.
in a little bit. But let's do some questions.
Love tacos.
Yeah, free tacos.
Does anybody have a question for Brandon?
I know. I see a hand waving, and I see some thumbs up.
Oh, wait, did you have anything else to say before I cut? Did you have anything else to say before I cut you off? Because I'm a high D.
No, you're all right. No, I'm good.
High D, high DI.
Yeah, no.
I see
Just that, like, I hope people understand. Like Jason and I talked about this the other day on one of our coaching calls about how like really success comes down so much more to mindset. So we actually want to do a series of these conversations about mindset in different ways. So today we're talking mindset with building a team, but next time we'll do mindset with something else to try to like help people see like it's not about. I can tell you exactly how to buy a rental property, but that's not going to get you a rental property. I can tell you how to get a 6-pack. How many of us have 6-packs? Not many. Yeah. I can teach you all day long how to do it.
Yeah.
So, yeah. Mike Bordley. Yes. Why weren't you this successful when you were growing up? Mike's like the one guy here that knows me when I was growing up. No, I was not successful growing up. You know, I was kind of nerdy in high school. Let's see. What would you look for when searching for a real estate lawyer? Recommendations. Should you use an LLC on every property? Probably not until you're successful, but I'm not a CPA, so I'm not telling you that. From dusk till dog. What's up, guys? Mindset is so important. If you guys need dog training, by the way, from dusk to dog is from dusk till dog is. I actually hired them as a dog coaching people once because I had dog issues, and they helped me. Anyway, yeah, very cool. What else we got here? Ooh, what is the key difference between coaching and mastermind? You want to take that one? What are your thoughts on the difference?
Well, yeah, I can. Let's see. I'll give you my perspective. You give yours. Coaching. Sure. If we look at success, right? The two mechanics of success is mindset and strategy. Okay, mindset is the level of thinking you're operating from, what you see, what you do. Strategy is the actions you take. Masterminding is more often than not goes into the strategy space. Because masterminding is mentoring. Mentoring is by definition usually strategy, because if you're asking Brandon a question and you're a new real estate investor, he's a mentor who has a result that you want and will give you the strategies that he wants. But he may not be necessarily be able to help you shift your mindset to the point where you can run the strategy. Right. Coaching is, at least my perspective, coaching from I'm a Tony Robbins guys where I started, is really about mindset transformation. It's 80% of success is mindset. You should shift the mindset, then the strategy shows up automatically. Okay.
Yeah, I like that. I'm gonna answer the question a little bit different way. I'm gonna 15-minute mark. All right, I'm gonna expand the question a little bit because I think this will make actually a good just video in the future as well. I'm actually recording this, so maybe I'll put this out on YouTube or something. But I want to talk real quick about the different people you could hire or different ways you could improve your mindset. We'll say that, like 5 different strategies for improving your mindset. That's what we'll call this. Okay. There's like 5 layers, or I don't know which one comes first or whatever, but here's what they are. Number 1, you could have a personal mentor. So when I first got started, Kyle was my personal mentor. His name was Kyle. He was a local landlord. He helped me learn a ton of stuff, and he was free. I mean, maybe I pay for his coffee once in a while, but he was a friend. That's a great thing to have, a personal mentor. Now, did Kyle know everything? No. So I learned all of Kyle's good and bad traits. One of the reasons I kept doing my own work for years is because he did all his own work. So a local personal mentor is a great person to have, but there are limitations. The benefit is it's usually free, and they understand the local market. Number 2 would be like a paid mentor. And this oftentimes is like a paid coach. In the real estate world, there's a million of these guys, and they sometimes charge $20,000, $30,000, $50,000 for their paid coaching. Now, maybe you can get one cheaper for $1,000 or $2,000. They're all over the place. But a paid coach is generally somebody who is a real estate investor and teaches you real estate tactics. Like, here's how to buy a house. Here's how to do this. Now, I generally advise against paid coaches in that regard, only because I don't think it's tactics that people need. I think tactics you can learn from a book, or you can learn from a lot of different areas, from reading a blog post, listen to a podcast. So I generally don't push tactics. third would be a performance coach. This is where I actually drive most people. As a performance coach is somebody like you, Jason, who doesn't necessarily show the tactics, but shows the mindset, the strategy behind the tactics, because I think that's more important. And they're generally not $50,000 or $100,000. I mean, Jason, you're definitely not that. And so I actually push a lot of people to talk. Like, in fact, I push people all the time. I'm like, look, at your level, you're earning, let's say the average person listening to me is earning $100,000 a year at a job, and they're flipping a couple houses a year, let's say. At that level, if you had somebody you're talking to every week or every other week that's holding you accountable and drilling into your mindset, are you not going to improve your sales and your business and your family life by 5% a year to cover the cost of coaching? Like, every single person I know pretty much is like, hands down gonna benefit from that. So I'm a huge fan of performance coaching. Fourth is like a mastermind group. And so the question was about mastermind. I'm gonna go with mastermind group, where it's like a group of people that are holding each other accountable. Now this is similar because it's a lot of mindset stuff, but it's also a lot of the kind of you get from a coach. Now the benefits, of course, is that a mastermind group is usually free. Now there are really expensive paid mastermind groups. BiggerPockets has mastermind groups if you buy the intention journal. The intention journal, you actually get part of a mastermind group that we put you in. Now, the upside of a mastermind group is that, you know, there's other people on the same journey. They're holding you accountable. They're asking you, hey, man, you said you were going to be here. You know, you were going to analyze 5 deals. Why didn't you do it? Just like a performance coach was. The downside is they don't necessarily have way more experience, and they don't have a lot of years of training in mindset and stuff, so they can't necessarily help you unlock as much. There's great part. I love mastermind groups. I've always been part of one. I've been in probably 20 different ones over the years. And then finally, fifth is a paid course. So some people like to pay for online digital courses. I might pay $5,000 or $500 or $10,000, whatever, for a course. Again, I tend to shy away from that because that's more of the tactic. It's like you can read a book and get the same tactics as you would out of a $5,000 course. Now, if you like learning from courses, maybe that's the avenue for you. So anyway, that's like the 5 ways that I think people can kind of get more information, change their mindset, change their strategies, learn real estate, and grow. So anything you want to say on that? I just think that's not kind of
that's fantastic. So, you know, get accountability if you can, number one, right? That's number one. But really the real thing to remember is to shift mindset. It's not a question of how, even though as human beings, we're to-do list machines. So we always wonder what the strategy is. So really the question is who. So who do I need to become? Who do I need to let go of? Who am I still acting like that is holding me back? Because it could be discomfort, because we could even dive into the discomfort you went through around your family. Because when you start to get on the top of the mountaintop, the next person on the mountaintop could be really far away, right? So it can be lonely. So accountability and really the decision to move will carry you there. But who do you want to become? And whatever resource that you want, find one. If you can pay for it, pay for one. If you can't find a way for pay for it or trade for it, like, don't let not knowing how stop you from getting what you want.
You know, you mentioned that who do you want to become thing. I'm reading this book, Atomic Habits. Atomic Habits by can't remember his name. Anyway, it's called Atomic Habits, and it's really good. But he makes this point in there that people focus so much on what they want, like the outcome, rather than their identity on who they need to become that way. And he makes this awesome point in there. I love that he said this, and I'm going to steal this from him and say it now. He says, when you're trying to like become someone different, think about who that person is, and then ask yourself the question, what would they do? What would a healthy person eat? What would a successful real estate investor do? So we're basically modeling. You mentioned the word modeling earlier. If you want to model somebody else's behavior, like, what would they do? So you get like, that's what you remember the WWJD bracelets that were popular in the 90s? Like, what would Jesus do? That's what they do. You're modeling somebody else. What would they do in this situation? What would Jason Drees do in this situation? So again, that's modeling that mindset. I think is super helpful.
Because if you weigh 180 pounds and you want to weigh 150, you just have to start doing everything a 150-pound person would do.
100%.
If you are not a real estate investor and you are a real estate investor, want to be a real estate investor with passive cash flow of 10 grand a month, what would you do if you are a real estate investor who's passive cash flow of 10,000 a month? Who just doesn't have those properties right now. It's a mindset, right? So it's who and right. And the thing is, our emotions are the indicators of alignment. So where the negative emotion is, if you feel that, push through that, breathe through it, jump up and down, scream and yell, because that's usually where we stop. We share. So
there you go. Cool. Makes sense, man.
Cool.
Well,
Yeah.
should we get out of here?
Yeah, let's get out of here. We ran over. Oh, and if anybody here wants, I've got some space on my calendar. If anybody wants a free session to focus on like expanding your team, or if someone, I'm going to do a training. I think it'd be useful if I did a training, like maybe a 30, 40-minute call on how to shift your mindset. So if you want that, send a text message to Coach Jason to 4747. I pasted it here. Text Coach Jason to 474747.
474747. Cool, man.
Coach Jason, yeah, and that'll give you a link. You can book in a session with me. It'll put you on my distribution list. I'll send you a text and let you know when that training's coming, so you can jump on that, right? And I have coaches on my team that I work with too. So we're available. If you want to grow and expand, just give us a call. We'll give you a free session, okay? But do something. Take some action from this. Don't let this just be that it, right? Cool.
Yeah, that's awesome, man. Yeah, do it. Like I said, if you want to model like successful like real estate investors, like there's, yeah, you said it's the thing that almost every successful real estate investor I know has either performance coach or some kind of like mentor or something that's in their life that's drilling them over and over on the mindset stuff. Like most of them I know have, again, they're part of huge like mastermind groups. Like I'm in part of GoBundance. I have you as a performance coach. I do intention journal stuff every day. Like that's not an accident. I'm not successful and therefore I have time to do these things. I do these things and therefore I'm successful. And that's why I think that works that way. So there we go.
Fantastic.
Good.
Cool.
Well, thanks for doing this today.
Yeah, this was fun. All right, man. See you soon.
All right, we'll see you soon. Goodbye, everybody. Yeah, go follow Jason on Instagram. Right. See y'all later. And
okay, bye.
If you're not following me, at Beardy Branding.
Follow him too.
Bye, guys.
Yeah. Bye.
Bye.